Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode of the BG Show. I'm here to talk about Fallout, the new Amazon Prime show based on the very popular video game. I'm about 3 episodes in, but I'm only going to talk about episode 1 today. So I'm going to start with my non-spoiler thoughts if you haven't seen it. Then I'll get into my spoiler thoughts, and then I'm going to finish the show and do a full spoiler review of the season. So I have not played the video game. I had a couple of friends who played it a lot, but I don't like RPGs as much, so I've never played it. So if you're looking for a review to kind of compare it to the game, unfortunately, I can't give that to you. But if you're someone who's never played the game and you're wondering if you can like this show, I definitely think you could, and I definitely would recommend watching at least the first episode. I think it'll hook you in. Now, it's not. I don't want to say it's like one of my favorite shows I've ever watched, but definitely, through the first episode, like I said, I've watched 3, but through the first one, definitely really hooked me in. The opening sequence leading into kind of the rest of the episode, which I'll talk about in spoilers. I thought Walter Goggins was a very good casting choice. And I think they've just done a really good job kind of creating a good show. I haven't really thought of the video game element. The fact that it's a video game kind of just makes you kind of want to watch the show more because you're like, as a video game player myself, I'm like, well, if I like this show, maybe I'll go back and actually play the game. Maybe I'll try it out again. So I think there's a lot of people who will like being video game players of the game watching the show, but I think there's actually a path to watch the show and then go back and play the game, depending on if you like it. It looks really, really good. This is one of the perks of being Amazon Prime. Having shows in this era is the amount of money that goes into it. It would never look this good on network television. The animatronics, the things that they've decided to do in the first episode, I thought were really good. It's not all CGI, so it looks very lived in the universe. There are some sets that look like sets, but it does look very lived in. There's a lot of shit all over the place, which I like because it's a game based on looting. So I think it's very important to kind of have it, kind of set up like a video game. And there's a lot of interactions, like even one of the first fight sequences. I kind of like how he fights kind of move by move by move as if it's kind of an RPG game. The kind of mechanical way that he was fighting, I thought kind of reminded me of that. So just little things like that. Like I said, I'll get into spoilers, but if you're looking for a new show to get into and you're on Prime, a lot of people just have Prime because they shop with it. They don't even use it so much for the TV part. Get into this show. I think you'll like it a lot. So let me get into spoilers. But like I said, that's my quick non-spoiler review for episode 1. I highly recommend getting into the show. Thanks, guys, for watching. This is your official spoiler warning. Okay, so spoilers. Episode 1 starts out with Walter Goggins, who's kind of a cowboy. He's at a children's birthday party in LA at a very nice house, kind of overlooking LA. It looks to be about the 60s, or based on the cars and whatnot and the music. He seems to be going through a divorce. This scene reminds me a lot of, if you've watched The Last of Us, it sets it up very similar, where it very, very quickly sets you up within the world, and you kind of start to get comfortable. You're learning the characters, and then very quickly it pivots, and you realize that you're never going to get back to the way things were, and now you're officially in kind of new territory. Like in The Last of Us, you're kind of meeting the daughter character, and you're meeting the grandmother, and the next thing you know, the virus breaks out, and you're kind of never back to that normal part again. Similarly, here, you're kind of getting into the characters. You're like, okay, maybe I'm going to know this dad and this daughter, and then a nuclear explosion goes off. And I really love, one of my favorite things in kind of anything, shows or TV, just kind of as I review things, is scale. You'll always see me reference it. I love it in, let's say, Godzilla. Even though the Godzilla movies sometimes are mediocre in the newer ones, what they've done is, especially in the first one, they'll like show Godzilla and then they'll kind of like zoom out, and I don't know if it's called aspect ratio, but the way that they kind of just scale Godzilla, you realize, oh shit, that thing's huge. They do it very good here. Just realizing in a distance, you see the cloud getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're just anticipating the shockwave. And you kind of see the shockwave kind of coming on the ground level, and it kind of comes up and nails them. And, even not being a Fallout fan, I kind of knew he would become this cowboy character with kind of radiation poisoning, just based on the game, seeing him in all kind of the ads and whatnot. So you kind of knew he was going to survive in kind of that way, but it was still really cool to see. So I thought a really, really good opening scene, really, really good like post-apocalyptic sci-fi scene, really shows you the scale. I think it's an important scene rather than just starting the show. And so that's kind of the beginning, and then you get over 200 years later, the show begins, and you're kind of within this bunker. And I really, really thought this bunker was cool. Very good world building. World building, another thing I always talk about, in my opinion, is one of the most important things in all, in anything creatively. Harry Potter, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, even why these things are all successful is because ultimately the fans want to live in the universe. They literally wish that they can live like fans wish they could go to Diagon Alley. Fans wish that they can, go to Star Wars planets and whatnot. Those are the shows that ultimately are successful and have spin-off products and have toys and have merch because fans want to live in the universe. So the most important thing that you can do for a show like this is you want to live in the universe. And I think it did a really good job. I mean, just the pods or the shelters that they're living in are really, really cool. The kind of way they're simulating real life, the way they're simulating outside real life. And I thought what was great about episode 1 is I think any episode 1 with a twist is a great idea. We kind of get this wedding. It's kind of like a setup wedding, an arranged marriage. Obviously there's not that many people to marry, and these people here living in this kind of underground bunker are a little bit socially awkward. Obviously, they haven't been out much, but eventually you realize that these people are raiders, and the groom, is a raider, and so there's this big fight scene, and the main character's dad eventually gets kidnapped, brought to the surface, and so kind of the big thing is kind of going up to the surface level, getting exposed to radiation. There's a lot of people living up there. They have no idea what's going on up there. I guess you can say they're the lucky ones, even though they're not exposed to sunlight and have to live underground. They don't have radiation poisoning. So essentially, the show becomes the main character kind of leaving for the first time, and all these adventures she goes on, and eventually, she's going to cross paths with this, this cowboy character and what goes on. So that's kind of my spoiler review for episode 1. Obviously, there's some bigger details I'm missing, which I'll get more accustomed to, people's names and stuff like that. And the verbiage of the show and the game. But I'm very, very excited to get going on this. I'm going to do a full spoiler review after. But if you've gotten this far, thanks, guys, for watching. Like I said, I highly recommend watching the show. I'm excited to keep going and finish it. I'll have a full spoiler review when I'm done. So as always, thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.